Hello, everyone. My name is Anastasia. I'm in charge of webinars and editorial at .art Domains, and I'm very excited to welcome you to what will be the last webinar of this year for us. It's been an incredibly intense and interesting year, and what we'd like to do today is to create a bit of time and space for all of us to reflect on the year that's finishing, and not so much do New Year's resolutions, but have a free-flowing conversations about how to learn from the mistakes and the triumphs we've experienced in this year, possibly redefine the definition of success, and learn from each other as always. I'd like to begin by introducing my co-host, Daria. And hi, Daria.
Hi.
To put everyone in context, this webinar is centered around the print publication that we put out this year. It's called Odyssey by .art. And the topic this year was success. There are so many definitions to success, and it was very exciting to collect many more from our community. Daria was the author of quite a few articles in the Almanac. So Dasha, please introduce yourself.
Hi, once again, thank you for having me. So I am an Amsterdam-based curator and cultural producer and also a journalist. And my journey has taken me from collaborating with incredible artists, galleries, and museums, also art fairs, to working with private collections and even exploring the exciting intersection of art and brands. And in general, my practice is grounded on, let's say, like 4 pillars. It's building cultural bridges, but also reimagining museum collections, curating digital and video art, which is super important for me, and exploring the intersection of art, architecture, and urbanism. With .art, I am since 2018. And I had the privilege of curating international projects within .art in New York and Miami during Art Basel back in 2019. But one of the most exciting endeavors, indeed, as Anastasia mentioned, is the Odyssey magazine, and where we have dived into the theme of success this year. So I had a chance to speak with artists like Rafik Anadol, and with him we talked about Dataland project, which he recently launched, which he calls a love letter to nature. I talked to Alfonso Brooks, who is the founder of Afrikin, which is simultaneously a foundation, marketplace, and an art fair, with a strong focus on kinship and interconnectedness of people. I've also talked to Amir Suleimani, who is the founder of Mondo Art Gallery, Dubai-based, and he is also a collector. He collects everything from art objects to domain names. Actually, within .art, domain zone, he has incredible domain names like meme.art, directory.art, collect.art, and others. And of course, last but not least, I talked to Jonas Denzel, who is with us on this call today, and about his very special project Beam Bike, which literally transforms everyday spots within the cityscapes into the art experiences. And his art is very dynamic and very nomadic, but we will talk about it a bit later. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dasha. I'll see you back at the round table. And now I'd like to introduce Jonas Kastenhuber, who is actually a long-term friend. We met each other over a decade ago, so it's very exciting to be working together. Here on the screen, you can see an article we did with Jonas about his project Callistic.art. Please, you have the stage.
Hi guys, I'm Jonas. Thanks for the beautiful introduction, Anastasia, and also for featuring me in the Odyssey magazine with the article Pixels with Purpose. I'm the founder of Callistic, and what we do at Callistic is we conceptually and commercially develop projects with artists and art collectives that have positive impact on sustainable topics. So we did conceptualize some projects ourselves, but also we listen to people that have great ideas, and then we bring the projects out. Like we do a lot of marketing, PR, but we also work with the artists together, connect them. So what I'm really good at doing in the art world is I bridge people and I make synergies happen. And a lot of the projects that are described in the article happen this way. So thank you for having me, and I'm delighted to talk about what success means to me.
Thank you. Next up is Kiriana. She has an incredible story of dealing with chronic pain by basically converting it into art. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kiriana. I'm having some connectivity issues, so if I cut out, I do apologize. I'm clearly coming from my car. I live in rural Oregon in the United States, so we don't have great internet or cellular here. But yeah, like I said, my name is Kiriana. I'm a watercolor and multimedia artist from Oregon in the United States. I make art about chronic pain and illness, and I came to this topic through my own experience with chronic pain. I developed a chronic pain condition when I was 12 years old, and I've been painting for 20 years now. So even back then, I really turned to art as an escape and a catharsis for what I was dealing with. And as I've gotten older, I've started working more and more with other people that have chronic conditions to portray what they're dealing with. So portraiture is really at the center of my artistic practice. I do, as you can see on the screen, it's surrealist watercolor portraits that are sort of visual articulations of people's symptoms. And I still do a lot of self-portraiture because I still have my own chronic pain that I'm dealing with. And I do other art as well, but portraiture is really definitely the focus of my artistic practice.
Thank you so much for joining us. From what I was saying earlier, it looks like a back of a limo, but maybe one day in the future that could be an idea for a webinar. Okay, thank you. See you back at the round table. Next up, we have Jonas Denzel. Hello, and his project beambike.art. Please.
Yeah, hello everybody. Very delighted to be here, and yeah, I founded Beambike in 2018. It's basically a bike where I put all projection gear on it. So basically, it makes projection mapping mobile and flexible. Very happy to be here.
Thank you. Next up is Alex Rigetto. Hi, Alex. Thank you for joining. This is going to be your second webinar with .art, as you already done one on how to promote your art. You've had a very, I could say, I think, successful year by all means.
Well,
please
it's true. It's true, Anastasia. Thank you so much for having me again. And it feels like I did something good if you asked me to come twice. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to use my experience and trying to help others in the name of .art, which is a great hub for artists and a great way to network and share information of the industry that we're living. You know, every artist path is different. So it's nice to hear stories from all these artists. I was here listening to the story of your guests, and I think it's gonna be an amazing webinar. I come from Verona. I live in the United States currently, but right now, in the current moment, I'm in Verona. And my artistic journey began in 2000, in the year 2000, where I graduated from the Fine Art Academy in Italy. And one of the most important projects that I worked so far is the Romeo and Juliet collection, which explore it's a reinterpretation of the Shakespeare story in the age of social media and electronics that, yes, connect us, but keep us apart. And it is an exploration of authentic relationships, like similar to what happened to the two lovers in the 1300. So I'm very happy to be here, and thank you so much for having me again, and thank you for the feature on the magazine.
Of course, and a little bit from behind the scenes, Alex is not only in Italy, he's actually joining us from an actual wine cellar. So yes. I suspect that he'll be having some wine later, or maybe
Yeah, I already had can I say it? I already have a few drinks, honestly, but just to enjoy with the friends. It's a great time to use wine as a aggregator and to have a relationship with other and listen to their story. So this is a friend of mine that has this incredible vineyard here around, and I'm very happy to share with you the place that I'm in Sartori, Verona.
So guys, if you are listening us, grab your drink of choice. It can be festive, it can be wine or eggnog or maybe tea. And if you have any questions, just a side note, if you have any questions, you can always drop them in the comments section and we'll bring them up during our roundtable. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce Jeff Sass, who is the CMO of the Dart Domains, regular participator of these webinars. Of course, this great publication couldn't have happened without him. So, Jeff.
No. Thank you, Anastasia, and thank you to all of our artists. It's really an honor to be amongst all this creativity. When you look at the differences between the styles and the inspirations, it's really great. Kiriana talked about art dealing with pain. I want to remind everyone that our charitable mission at .art is the Art Therapy Initiative. So we actually dedicate a portion of our revenue to promoting awareness of and access to the healing powers of art. So the work that you're doing, Kiriana, is really important. And we think that artists are not just artists, but they're also healers, because art is so powerful to change our emotion and move us. I joined .art not from the art world actually, but from the domain world. So it's been very exciting for me to really get more involved in art and the art world as the CMO of .art. I've been a writer and a creative person my whole life, so I've written books and produced for film and television, but the painting and the traditional art I leave to my mother and my grandson. My mother will be 89 years old, and she has been painting all her life. I grew up in an apartment with paintings of hers all around me, even paintings she did when she was a child. And my 10-year-old grandson has shown a real talent for art. So as CMO of .art Domains, last year I gave them as a holiday gift their own .art websites. I actually got them their .art domain name and uploaded, without them knowing it, images of their artwork, and then presented them with their artwork online. Being of different ages, my mother was not so thrilled with having her stuff publicly out there, to be honest. But my grandson couldn't have been more thrilled, and he's been bragging to all of his friends. And in fact, my article, which mentions it in the .art Odyssey, I sent him a copy, and of course he's been bringing it into school and keeping it in his knapsack to show off to all of his friends. So art can be a great gift as well. So it's an honor to be here with all of you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to keep you on stage and bring everybody else back. So I'd actually like to start this discussion with sharing my favorite fable, because it has to do with success and how we see things. I think in the original it's told with a boy, but I like telling it with a girl. So there's a little girl walking on a building site, and she asks one of the builders, "What are you building?" And he says, "Oh, we're just laying bricks." And then she walks on and asks the second builder, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he says, "Don't you see we're just building a wall?" And she walks on and she asks the third builder, "What are you doing?" And he says, "We're building a temple." So it's often about not what you're doing, but how you see things. And it has to do, I think, with creativity, whatever work you do, how you define success, how you find, how you deal with failure. So I'd like to keep all of us to keep this in mind when we have today's conversation. And I know I've shared with you some questions to think about. I hope they were helpful. So I'd like to actually begin with a question which I think is relatable to everyone. It's about the definition of success. And Dasha, maybe you could help me out by answering it first. How has your first personal definition of success changed over time, and what has influenced the shift?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I was actually thinking about it a lot recently also, because I was moving from one country to another, exploring different art scenes, and also like adjusting in a way. And of course, also thinking like, what have I succeeded in and what is success? And I think it was really shifting throughout the time. And I think that now it's, of course, like not really that much about achieving tangible milestones, but it's more about really making a positive impact and collaboration within different, art agents, let's say, um, at large, and also just staying true to, my own values while contributing to some meaningful conversations and also communities.
Alex, sorry, but I have to bring it up. You had tea with somebody from the royal family this year. So how has your definition of success changed?
Interestingly enough, I didn't read that as my biggest peak this year. It was great. It was amazing. I had the opportunity for people that didn't read the article. I had the opportunity to sit at the table with the royal family. We shared tea and discussed the artwork, and it's kind of surreal because you're like, it's a very relatable conversation, and it's very easygoing, and so that was great. And but then I had other experience during this year, and it's interesting because I think it fits more the idea that Daria was sharing. I I had the opportunity with the same collection to create workshops for the schools, and this is what I did in the month of October. This collection led me to the Romeo and Juliet collection that I was talking about. Led me to have workshops with schools, and I had kids hugging me after the workshop, and I felt so great, and I felt so accomplished as an artist, more than the royal family, and so it feels like a paradox. Don't get me wrong, I still want to redo it again if I can, but then there's feels that fulfill me, was able to fulfill me more during the year than the moment, and made me think that rethink of what is success, what success means, and sometimes the success is to change someone else's life, and that what I felt was relevant for me, and then I discovered that what I wanted to do, the success for me was to make an impact on others, especially on young generations that wants and needs a lead. And why not from artists, why not for people that can and have the ability to communicate to others, and they have this somehow possibility to communicate, because let's face it, art is a universal language. It's understandable from everyone. Don't need to learn a language specifically to understand a message, and that's the power of art. And so that was very fulfilling for me. I'm sorry, maybe I went off path, but I thought it was relevant for me.
Oh, there is no such thing as off path in this discussion.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring Kiriana here because you're talking about changing people's lives. So your work is directly related to helping people with chronic pain. Could you please comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, for me as an artist, art came to me as kind of a weird thing that I had a mixed relationship with, because it was such a big part of my processing around a really difficult thing that I was dealing with. And I saw how much of an impact that made in my own life to be able to do these self-portraits where I was sort of like visually articulating my own symptoms that were invisible. And I thought that could be impactful for other people. And that has really been my experience as I've started working with others and doing portraits of their conditions, that it's a topic that's not talked about a lot. There's not a lot of space for us to talk about chronic conditions, chronic physical conditions. I think we're getting a little bit better talking about mental health issues, but there's still a real taboo around this topic for people. And the experiences that I've had just giving folks the space to tell me their story and to share their experiences with someone who understands and has been through something similar, has been totally transformative to me as an individual and as an artist. It really touches me every time I'm able to speak to people, and it never gets old. So that's been a huge part of my artistic journey, is just my experience with working with others and what that looks like, and the change that I hope to bring to their lives, and also through talking about this topic in a more general way and bringing awareness.
Thank you. I think there's incredible power in telling other people's stories, and that's why I love doing our print publication, because it gives me an opportunity to talk to so many different people who are all connected, not just by having a .art domain, but by bringing art and creativity into their lives in so many different ways. Jonas from Callistic, because we have two Jonases here, maybe you could share your point of view on this. You're on mute, and I can't unmute you.
There we go. So I really found Alex and Kiriana's stories very inspiring, and I completely agree that it's about touching people like emotionally, having like a positive impact on them. And I also believe in the healing power of art. Like I really think that it has a like you can have huge impact because you touch people differently than with just information. You touch their soul, you go to the senses, like it's a sensual experience, an immersive experience. And what really got me into art, I had like a very daunting accident in 2019, a motorbike accident, which left me paralyzed and in a coma for 2 months. So I was in a hospital for almost 3-4 months in a bed, and I like the only thing that really kept me going was like music, art, like everything that I could also, that inspired me. It really touched me, and it got me out of the room. It got me out of this misery, and it showed me the healing powers. And then I really committed myself to the arts afterwards, like to developing projects that have positive impact. It's in the projects I do, it's a lot about the healing the world, like healing like the like through art. And I believe Kiriana, like it's about also healing the individual. Like, like if we heal as individuals, I think we can heal this planet as well. Like there's a lot we do on an individual level, then we do something on the global level. And then it's also family and friends, like who do we really touch in our everyday life? And for me, like it has been like my most successful moments were when I also perceived this change in people's perspectives. Like when I saw that they opened up their eyes to something they didn't see before. It's not that it wasn't there, but it's just like they didn't see it. And like if you open those eyes, if you go to the heart, that's why my logo of Callistic by choice is a heart, a pixelated heart. We go through a lot of digital content and touch people's heart like that, and then we open them up to perceive and receive new impulses, new perspectives. And I did that with a lot of projects, and that was really changing my view on how I can how I can serve, like it's like kind of serving society and serving our humanity in a creative way with creative people like you all are.
I've got a follow-up question for you, because you and I have talked about it privately, I think a few times, because you are in business development in the art industry. So it's true that you have to put your work in metrics and in sort of in the business language, but you are quite spiritual, and you've had this crazy personal experience that have brought you closer to art and the topics of healing. How do you find the right balance between business lingo and this like different side that's quite goes a lot deeper, so you can explain it to your partners?
Yeah, so like I consider myself quite disciplined. Like I always ask myself, for instance, in the evenings, what am I thankful for? What am I proud of? What inspired me? And like there's just like by asking these questions, I reflect on my day and I breathe deeply doing that. You know, it's like a kind of meditation, but like I always ask myself, what am I proud of? What successes did I have today? Which ties into our topic, you know. And yeah, I do a lot of mental reflection and also spiritual work. Like I do physical, spiritual, and also mental work to kind of be in balance. And like it's not about only fulfilling the KPIs. You know, I just co-founded a startup again, which is very stressful. You know, like it's like every day I'm grinding at the moment. Like it's holiday season. I also want to just relax, go skiing. I'm here in Switzerland, in Zurich. The mountains are already white. I can see them out of my window. But I think it's for me important to deliver as well, like, and I keep myself in check, and I do that with like a lot of discipline, like just by focusing on these different questions I ask and like doing my practices every day.
Thank you for sharing this. And I know we are talking about the evolving definition of success here, but going to Jonas Denzel, something else that Jonas Kastenhuber has brought up is these daily practices. So maybe you could share if you have any daily practices that help you stay on top and keep your creativity going, and how all of this ties into success for you.
Yeah, for me, thank you, Anastasia. It's very inspiring to hear that you like, Jonas, you have these rituals almost like every day. For me, success is a really, really big word, right? I would say for me, it's great to bring light to hidden and dark places with my art, and make an interaction with the audience, in public spaces where there are no barriers, like there's no, you don't need to buy a ticket to get into an exhibition or something. It's art basically for everyone, and that's basically what drives me, So everybody, every person, it's possible that they can see it, and the best way, interact with it and get inspired by discussions, etc. on it.
Anyone else on daily practices? I can share that I used to do, maybe I should start it again, it's a shame, a gratitude journal, which was more sophisticated than just what you're grateful for. There were some other very thought-provoking questions. I did that for an entire year because it was a gift someone gave me. So that's a practice I'd like to go back to. Anyone?
Journaling, yeah. So journaling is very, very helpful. I actually meditate. I've been practicing TM, Transcendental Meditation, for over 50 years, since I was 15 years old. So quite a long time. Yeah, and that's helped me in enormous ways, and it's very important to me to do it every day. But this has been really wonderful to hear how there's a common theme here about success not being financial. No one mentioned anything financial. And really the underlying theme has been about impacting other people, the impact that you have as an artist, as a person, on other people. And I think also the fact that art can touch so many people, the inclusivity of art is really important. And as we think about next year's edition of our Art Odyssey publication, we've been thinking about themes, and one of the themes that has come up, and we'd love to hear feedback from all of you, is making the theme inclusivity, right? Because art is something that can touch virtually everyone, and what's interesting too, when you think about the healing powers of art, and of course healing is another theme that will certainly be present in our publication and always has been, because of our devotion to the therapeutic benefits of art. But when you think about the inclusivity and the healing powers, art is unusual because it's two-sided. It's a two-sided coin, because you as artists have benefits. You benefit from the act of creation. And at the same time, your creations benefit the people who experience them, you know. So it's one of the rare things that, you know, when I take a pill, the pill is only helping me. It's not helping anyone else. But when you create art, you're helping yourself and so many others. And so that idea of inclusivity, I think, is really important. And speaking of inclusivity, you may have heard we recently acquired a platform called Hug, and that's a wonderful, very inclusive community that we're happy to fold into the .art community. And I think that they called themselves an inclusiverse. And I think that was very inspirational to us in thinking about the inclusivity of art and inclusivity as a theme for next year. So I don't know what you all think of that.
Yeah, we have a couple of other ideas, but I'm not going to be giving any spoilers just so it doesn't influence what you're about to say. But yeah, inclusivity is a big word. So if anyone would like to share their opinion on it as the topic for our next year's print edition. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that inclusivity is a really vast topic and often gets overcomplicated. And in the art world, we're still dealing with a great deal of inequality, and that is an important topic to breach. I think as I was looking into what I wanted to talk about today, I looked up some statistics, and I found that of the art sold at auction between 2008 and 2019, only 2% of that was made by women artists. And when we do sell work, we earn about half of what our male counterparts do. So I think, you know, sometimes we get so wrapped up in what inclusivity looks like and what intersectionality looks like. And it's easy to overlook these really huge, glaring inequalities that exist in the art world.
Wow, that's an incredible statistic. You would think that this would just couldn't be the case anymore in 2024. Yeah. Anyone else on inclusivity and how possibly we overcomplicate it? Dasha, you could then steer the conversation further.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and also like in terms of inclusivity, we can, it's just so indeed so wide, because here we can be talking about public art being inclusive, and that's something what, for example, Jonas is doing. Or we can go into some other, you know, topics and domains. But I also wanted to ask some extra questions on a little bit more brighter, positive note. So just a general question for everyone. Can you share an example of successful collaboration or initiative or exhibition you were part of in 2024, and what made it stand out for you?
It doesn't have to be 2024. It can also be in the years before, but something.
Sure. I mean, okay, yeah, absolutely.
Really made a difference to your career, because I think some of us here are quite young, so maybe something happened a few years back, but it's still, Jeff, yes, okay, you don't count yourself as young. Some of us are.
Okay, so let's start with Alex.
Okay, well, 2024 was a very rich year for me. For example, consider this: the last 4 months, I did 4 different exhibitions in 4 different countries. So it was quite hectic. Can you imagine bringing the artwork from a country to another? And I discussed previously with Anastasia, I think logistics are probably the most the hardest thing for me as an artist, because traveling and crossing the ocean with artwork, we all know it's very hard. But and this is probably something that I'm very proud of, like to be able to combine and create in a month an exhibition in Austria, then go to Miami in the next month, and then be in Verona, my own town. It is a work of art itself, trust me. To do so, I need to rely on different people. I can't do it by myself. I need someone on the ground. I need someone that organizes the stuff. I need someone that take care of, you know, the packaging, how the things are shipped. And for example, this year happened that I had to wait 2 weeks for my paintings, because the custom in Orlando decided to hold it for 2 weeks before releasing them. I don't know what they're looking for, but obviously they were doing their job. But it was an interesting moment of my career, thinking, am I gonna have my artwork back this year? Anyway, so I think that was truly amazing. Another short story that I can share with you is I was about to go into the Windsor Castle, and every person that goes to Windsor Castle needs to pass a background check. Mm-hmm. So they need to see if you're a criminal, if you have criminal records, anything that can come up. And obviously, fortunately, I was fine, but they told me 2 days before. So I started promoting the event, even though I didn't have my background check done. And for example, the company that was entitled to bring the panels, because they built a panel, they built something, a structure just for the exhibition, couldn't come. So 2 days before, I found myself without, not knowing if I go, and knowing for sure that the company that I hired to bring the panels to hang my stuff couldn't come. You know what happened? The Royal Military Army built, this is crazy, the Royal Military Army built the panels for me. And that was something that, I had to write a journal of this stuff, because I don't know, in 20 years, I could share with my kids, hey, do you remember that time when, I couldn't come, my company couldn't go inside the castle. But anyway, great experience, beautiful experience, was magical. And I believe, if I may say, I believe it in myself so much. I received so many no's this year, so many no's. The part of the year was about the punches that I got in my stomach. But I was able to get up anyway and say, you know what, I'll try anyway. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna do it. And if, for example, and I love my country so much, but I also I need to tell you that there's so much bureaucracy. And doing the last exhibition that I did, it was in a government building. So we need to provide an insurance for 8 million euros. And so how you do that? It was crazy. But we found a solution. We were able to find a solution.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was just at some point you get so many barriers that we're like, you have a choice. You either continue and you find your own way, or you just give up. And the most successful thing that I can share with you is just don't give up, because it always looks darker after it open up and there's a sunshine.
Well, it indeed seems like it's all about daring, and what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
absolutely. When you do it, when you get up on the other side, when you stand on your own feet, you feel so much stronger. You feel like so much, because you did it because of you.
Yes. Thank you, Alex. Jonas, Denzel, yes, please.
Yes, so very interesting, Alex. Thank you for this insights. I just wanted to go back to your question, like the in my art practice, one very big achievement for me was basically to make projection mapping flexible and mobile. You all know, projection mapping. It's media art. It's a lot connected with big projectors, heavy technique, right? And mostly it's like on one space, shining on a monument or something, right? And for me, my like one of the biggest achievements was to scale it down and make it flexible and bring it on a bike, so I can go everywhere I want now, urban, nature, and bring my art there.
Yeah, I am a big fan of being bike, and because now I'm based in Amsterdam and it's obviously such a bike city, I can't wait to welcome you at some point here. Especially there are so much initiatives which I think need your project. So this will be really nice. Kiriana, maybe if you could also share something with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go back a little bit farther than 2024.
Absolutely.
I had a really amazing collaboration experience that lasted a couple years. During COVID, I was sort of forced to return back to Oregon and connected with an old friend. And we were just looking around at our community and realizing that there was a big gap. It's a small community, but there's a big art gap here. We have a lot of sort of an older age group doing artwork, but there wasn't as much engagement for the younger artists. So we started this art collective together that we called Animus, and we started doing these sort of interactive multimedia art shows in my barn, actually. Which was a great space because it was kind of outdoors and people could be masked and distanced from one another and still experience some art. So that's just sort of opened my eyes to the creative possibilities of coming together as a community and the power that that could bring to give people access, easy access to these artistic platforms and to sharing their art with their community. And I think that there's a really important piece of that just within our local communities, as well as doing stuff like this that's international.
Thank you so much. And Jonas, could you share with us some of the interesting collaboration successful, maybe not necessarily from this year?
Yeah, so no, necessarily from this year. I had a lot to do this year, and actually, I'm sitting here in the space where I did my first exhibition in 2020 during Corona. I did it in my apartment, which is like perfectly fitted out now with like you see those gallery hanging installations, and it's like a beautiful space just in the middle of Zurich, but like. That was 4 years ago, and this year in summer I did a huge festival, an art festival in Locarno, during Locarno Film Festival, which was called the Felice Social Club. And at Felice Social Club we had like about 10 days, exactly 10 days actually, of art exhibition, a permanent exhibition, performances, workshops, and it was like a lot of really inspiring, talented people all coming together. And it showed me how I developed, like since 4 years, like I moved around the world. At the beginning of the year, I had this art exhibition in Mexico during Sonamaco. I actually traveled there in December to mainly enjoy myself, but then I found all these people, and like the universe somehow brought this together, that I did an exhibition in a Barragan, architectural Barragan house in Mexico City at Calle Tokyo 64, which is absolutely crazy how sometimes things come together. And it was not my intention, you know, like it was not even my intention to do the Felice Social Club during Locarno Film Festival, but it was a friend of mine that came to me. He has this beautiful villa with a vineyard, and he was like, I want to create something I want to have an artist residency. Let's make this foundation happen. And like this festival was like kind of a way to market it and to also connect with the Locarno Film Festival. I don't know if you heard, but Maya Hoffman is now the new director, so president of the Locarno Film Festival, one of the biggest art collectors. And then as well, like the director, he's a really inspiring entrepreneur that is like also really supporting the arts. So it all just fell together, and it was so beautiful to experience this. And I think it's success if you take, like this year I just let it flow. I was like explaining it to a friend, it was the creative juice of the flow, not the creative flow which was juicy, but like the juice of being in the flow, you know. And it just like, this is like letting go, you know, and then the good things come to you.
Thank you.
I like the juice of being in the flow. I'm not sure what it means, but I'm going to keep saying it. So, well, something I want to slightly pivot to but it's completely related, because it's true that sometimes things fall in place and sometimes you let go and the universe helps you. But there are other times, as Alex has mentioned, it's about the punches you take in the stomach and the fact that you have to just continue and get up, and it's about processing the failures. So sometimes it also happens that the failure helps you realize something. For example, I can share from my personal unknown information that I'm also a poet, and I was trying to get into a master's degree in the UK, which is quite prestigious for studying poetry. And I tried and I didn't get in, but somehow, very nicely, one of the women from the admissions, she wrote to me saying that she really appreciates my poetry and it's very beautiful and I don't necessarily need a whole degree to study it. And then she has a niece who also writes poetry and is a teenager who read my stuff and would actually like to connect, and for me to kind of tutor her, which was a completely surreal turn of events for me, because I wanted to be the one who studies poetry, and now I end up tutoring this teenage girl who loves the things I write. So it might not be a victory in the way that I was expecting it to be, but it made me realize that actually I already have something to share and I already have something to teach. So that's an example of a failure turned into something else. And maybe, guys, you could share something similar, or your tips on how to, keep going, because it's very easy to say, but there is this moment when you feel like, oh my God, how do I even recover from this? So anyone, please. I know it's not the most fun talking about the failures, but I've just shared mine.
I feel I feel I talk too much, so I let other people express. Yeah. So if you don't have anything to say, I will definitely help you out here, because I have so many points where failures was so big that it was kind of like unbearable. But it's up to you. I leave space for other people, and then if you want, you can call me.
Well, I'll share. It's not specifically art related, but it's business related. And I think all artists, especially now, are entrepreneurs. Each of you have to manage your own career, your own business. But I was once involved with a company that I co-founded, and actually a company I worked for at the time, and it went bankrupt, right? And then the founder of that company and I afterwards started a new company together. And when we were fundraising for that new company, the first inclination was we can't let anyone know that our last company, went bankrupt, because it's a scar, it's a mark. But then we had a revelation that no, actually, this is a badge of honor, because it shows that we experienced something that didn't work out and we've learned from that. And so when we go out to investors to raise money, we're not coming in as inexperienced, kids out of their garage. We're coming in with as business people who lived a little bit and, had some pain and had to deal with winding down a company and all that stuff. And so we actually put it in front of us instead of hiding it behind us. And that turned out to be a very powerful part of our story when we were fundraising for the new company. The fact that our previous company had failed, we were able to turn that into a positive thing and not a negative thing. So I think embracing your failures and what you learn from them is critically important for anyone in life, not just in business.
I think, Jeff, you were just really ahead of your time, because actually I heard the statistics that nowadays in the Silicon Valley, the companies that are the biggest now and the most successful, they're founded by people who have on average 3.5 failed startups on their resume. So it's common now to actually ask people pitching their business ideas, well, like, have you actually failed before at something? Because if you have failures that you've learned from, it's true that it could be extra valuable. So
yeah, well, this was in 1999, so I guess I was at the time.
As I said, yeah, ahead of your time. So any other brave soul on failures?
I can share something, but it's not really very concrete, let's say. But for quite some time, I was thinking that curators should really focus on one theme of research interest, so just to really dive in and become a total expert in it, right? But then I was so interested in very different areas, and it's we are talking about contemporary art, we're talking about architecture, urbanism, I don't know, food design, etc. And well, I'm very glad that I actually had all these interests, because they work for me. It all works in the interconnection of the spheres, in this multidisciplinarity. And also because as I mentioned briefly, like I had to move from one country to another. Like I recently lived in Tbilisi for 2 years. Now I'm in Amsterdam. And, I have to also rethink myself to, sort of like, survive mentally and career-wise, etc. So all these things in common, like that, they really help. So I think it's very important to be open towards different areas.
Yeah, I've actually learned a word recently, I think, and it was actually from our webinar that we did with the Hug community. Someone said many of us are multi-hyphenated, meaning that we are not just one thing. We are creator / artist / business owner / startup. So I think it's a beautiful way to see yourself, and without the need to define just one role, because it can be quite constricting.
Yeah, agree.
I think Jonas probably has something to share on that from Holistic, because you are very multi-hyphenated.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like 1999, that was also very different. No, Jeff, like you had like one job all your life, and now we have so many jobs. Like back then you were maybe father and you had a career, but now you're all these things, as Daria said, like multidisciplinarity. And I think like the best tennis players, like Roger Federer here from Switzerland, he sometimes goes skiing, or he balances on a slack line, because it will positively impact his tennis, and that's, I think, what is like the most crucial is see, like, don't have the horse flaps, like look left and right and gain knowledge and experience, because you can at some point integrate this, even if you do not even realize. And yeah, like if you do that, like that's also, I think, really, really something which I learned. Like I've been, I don't know, I have been a trader in finance. Like I have worked for commodity trading, and now I'm like somewhere in arts and culture and art tech. Like it's a big span, and I'm only 30. I think I don't know where I will be when I'm the age of Jeff, but I think you're in a really good place, Jeff. Not saying.
No, I agree. And what you're saying, it's very astute of you to recognize that at this young age. But the reality is, all of these things, even without a plan, they all help and they all feed each other, right? So all of these things you may have learned as a trader are being applied in your art in some way, sometimes even subconsciously that you don't aware. But each experience we have, is something that contributes to the next step that you take. I mean, I wrote a book about my years in the film industry, and it's called Everything I Know About Business and Marketing I Learned from the Toxic Avenger. But what it is it's business and marketing lessons that I learned making crappy low budget movies, but that you can apply to anything. And I have used those lessons throughout my career in every industry I've been in, including using them today with .art. So, Steve Jobs said it very well in one of his many talks about, when you look backwards, you can connect all the dots, right? So looking backwards, you can see how actually your experience as a trader helped you do this exhibition. Everything is connected going backwards. Going forward, sometimes we don't realize how what we're doing is going to impact our next steps, but everything is ultimately connected.
I totally agree.
So looking backwards, because it's the end of the year now, not necessarily the last, but one of the concluding questions I have for you guys. Do you not actually have a little ritual for the end of the year when you try to take stock of what has happened and a little bit see where it's taking you in the next year? Me personally, I have not meditated for as many years as Jeff has, because I'm not that old yet. But I do meditation for maybe like 10 minutes. And then I try to sit down with a blank piece of paper. And what I do, and I do this every year, I actually write down from this moment of stillness a list of wishes. And this could sound very like Santa Claus and please please bring me, I don't know, something. But it's interesting to observe yourself when you're free to express whatever you want. And these are not necessarily material things. These are things that I want to feel. It's a mind state that I want to be in the next year. So I try to, it's not necessarily a list. Sometimes I write entire sentences about how I'm feeling in the next year. And I'll just put them all together in a pile. And sometimes I look back at them and they're always different. And things that I wrote down 10 years ago, I completely forget about them. And sometimes they become totally irrelevant. And sometimes I forget about them and they come true. So there is just beauty in the process of seeing how you evolve. So it's not something I stick on the wall and then I'm like, okay, I haven't, bought a new car yet or something like that. But it's about the process for me. So what do you guys do? Not necessarily at the end of the year, but maybe at pivotal periods in your life to take stock? Anyone?
I can share my small ritual, but it's actually once again connected to community, connected to people, because one of the last days of the year, I like just to go to some nice cafe, be there by myself. Somehow the background noise makes me concentrate better even. So, and I just send out small messages to my friends who are literally all over the world. And I just need to say some nice things to them, or just to also ask, just to make sure that we're connected. I mean, I'm pretty good at keeping up with my connections, but just to make sure that everyone is in this zone, and just to see how everyone is doing, etc. So yeah,
that's beautiful. I like this. I might try to do it this year because now I'm in Paris, so there are loads of beautiful cafes.
Exactly.
Alex, yeah.
Well, I write down what I want for the next year usually, and I know it sounds like a very childish thing to do. I don't know, but I like to plan my next year. Like in January, I want to do this. In February, I want to do that, and so I write down a list of things. And the action of dreaming, it's actually the activity of dreaming. It's part of the game, because somehow as artists, we are asked to dream in a different reality and challenge the reality that we are, and challenge the status quo that we are living in, to make something more refined out of it. Because not necessarily the world that we're living is the best world that we can possibly create. So even for ourselves, for our family, and so for till reaching the mankind. But so I think it's one desire at a time, one dream at a time. Is the job of the artist is to just dream and then accomplish the dream, because the accomplishment makes you happy. The accomplishment makes you feel like you're doing something. You're actually going through something. I always say to the artists that ask me, don't wait for the phone call. Don't wait for the gallery that will show up one day recognizing how great and valuable you are as an artist, but just dream. And that dream is then translate in activity, in action. If you want to exhibit in a specific place, then I don't know, find a way to rent a space and just do a show, and then invite a lot of people from there. I don't know, that's a practical example that might not apply to each one of us. But so the end of the year is after Miami Art Basel is the moment where the dust start to fall down again, and so I have the time to breathe, and then just to look at my next year with the idea of okay, just blank again. What I want for my next year? What I want from 2025, and I actually write down this thing, and then the list is not something that I keep next to my bed, and I look at next year in 2026, but actually something that I want to work with during the next few days or the next few months.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, I have a feeling that you have something to share.
Well, I don't want to share anything, but I have nice things for next year.
How many of the things that you wrote down did you accomplish? Like, or did they change a lot?
Believe it or not, my wish list for 2024 the reality exceeded my list, because in 2023 I said to Stacy, which is my partner and business partner, how can I make Romeo and Juliet relevant? And I thought the royal family, because Shakespeare was British. It was from Stratford, actually, but it lived in London. And she's like, well, let's find a way to show it to the royal family. And so that happened the next year. Before leaving for Italy, because most of the time I live in the United States, I went to the city council of my town and I said, I want to do an exhibition in my town. I go all around the world, but why can't I do it in Verona? So I showed my portfolio, and she didn't say anything. She's like, okay, leave it with me, and we'll see. In February next year, she's like, well, we thought about it and we want to invite you to do an exhibition in October. So, and then that was another dream that I had literally the end of the year in 2023, and so on. It's funny because sometimes Art Basel Miami, for example, is the last, usually in December, and it's just the last, when you're running for hours, it's the last few minutes, or if you the last 30 minutes of your run that just kills you. So we worked the entire year, and I have everything ready for Art Basel, and being splendid again after months and months of work. It's just the last thing that you don't. So Stacy usually says, no, we're not gonna do Art Basel this year now, and I'm like, yes, we're gonna do it. And this happened usually in July. Right in July. Come to find out, in November, every year, like October, November, there's someone invites me to Art Basel to showcase something. So she's like, why are you doing this to me? Because it's literally a strong, like my burning desire to get there, that actually somehow, I don't want to use the word manifestation, because I think we are all abusing on that. I think it's literally hold on that feeling or that desire, hold on that dream that we were talking about, dreaming, and then either I work or someone else will work on that. I don't know how to explain it.
Oh, I think it's great. Just you are explaining it. And I think the most important message is here, dream, but also make stuff happen. Because as Alex shared, he went to the town council, he asked. So I think it's very important to not be afraid to ask for things. You don't know when you're going to get the answer. Maybe you won't this year, but you might next year. So
yes, and everything you do is relevant. Even the single, internet changed our way to live. Somehow internet keep us all together, keep us very close, but also made us lazy. So sometimes artists, I'm not talking about us, but other artists, me in the past, we just get a list of galleries and start writing to them, which is nice, of course, but everybody's doing it. So it's hard for the gallery to recognize a true value out of, it's like finding an email, a cold email, out of the daily emails. You won't find it. You won't put so much attention because there's so much inflow. Let's say it's hard to pick, and grant the artist the attention. This is the reason why it's better have human connection, like face to face. Go and opening, go to vernissage and just speak with people. That will impact much more than an internet connection. But if you can't, of course, everything counts.
definitely.
But I'm an advocate for a real, true connection. I really feel that in person makes a lot of difference.
I completely agree, and it's something that Kiriana shared before about even during COVID finding a way to do an exhibition in her barn. So Kiriana, maybe you have something to share at the end of the discussion about your little rituals or ways of concluding the year or important periods of life.
I'm an avid journaler, so I all the time and reflect on what I'm doing, and I keep lists of things, and that's a big part of my artistic practice as well. It's just listing ideas that come into my head. So I don't know that I have necessarily like end of year practices, but I do a lot of reflection, and it's part of my personal life as well as my artistic practice.
Great. Thank you everyone for sharing everything you've shared today. Jeff, do you have any concluding remarks, questions for our speakers, anything?
No, I think this was terrific to hear from everyone and a great way to end the year. I think, you know, the themes are common amongst everyone when you cut through, and we're people and we want to connect, and art is uniquely qualified to connect us all. And as I think Jonas said earlier, you know, even in a big way, you know, help society on a large scale. So all of you should be congratulated on being contributors to that through your creativity and your artwork, and we're delighted to have you as part of the .art community.
Right. I think Alex is already rushing off to have some wine, so we'll wrap this up.
No, I just the owner came up and it's to say hi. He was leaving, so I just had to hug him the Italian way. Sorry.
Italian way, yes. Thank you everyone for your time.
Next time we should
again.
Wine cellar all together.
That's what I said to Anastasia. Let's do it in person. Let's do it with a glass of wine in front of.
Well, if your friend is willing to, invite the art community, we'll be there.
Well organized, Anastasia. We'll have to talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening and tuning in. Follow us on social media. Have a great end of the year. I hope you find a moment of stillness to dedicate some thoughts to the moments in this year that you were happy and to learn from it. I hope you find the moments to feel gratitude for the times you're going to spend with family and friends in this festive season. It can be stressful, but there's always something to learn from it. I wish you all the best and see you in 2025.
Ciao.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Ciao, ciao.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.